Namaste, long haulers. So today I'm going to interview myself. I'm sure we've all watched enough documentaries about our condition, and we all deserve a chance to share our stories. And as I go through my days as they pass by, we all know that fatigue sets in. And although I've been an advocate before, I've spoken on behalf of others before, I've done YouTube channels before, this is different because I can't think clearly. I'm not as creative as I once was. And so, I think this is usually how they start them. Who were you before COVID? Well, hello everyone. My name is Maria. Before COVID, I was living in Las Vegas. I had my parents living with me. I just bought a home. First time home buyer. I just bought a home so that they could come retire out there and we could all just live happily ever after, because I had a great job with a huge gaming entertainment company. However, right before the pandemic, I had left because although I made a lot of money, I wanted to do more fulfilling things. So I became a domestic violence crisis advocate because I'm also a survivor of domestic violence. So I had probably been in that position for about a year when COVID hit. And I knew COVID was hitting because at the time I was also kind of a truther, a seeker. I followed a lot of news from other countries, from other states, cities, from other YouTubers, because I just like to be in the know. So I was kind of prepping for it, and I remember my parents saying, Maria, that's not coming here. I said, well, the truth is, the conspiracies are stranger than truth, or I don't even remember what I said, but we were ready. We weren't scared. You get ready so that you stay ready and you're not scared. Well, it hit, and I was in my domestic violence job. I was working with the public, going into random houses when the whole city, the beautiful city of Las Vegas, was shut down. And here I am going out helping others. My father had already started his retirement, but was doing part-time cab driving just to get out of the house. My mother, she was still working. She was just doing a part-time grocery store gig. So we were all still kind of working. Dad was the only one that was really laid off. But they are older, and I was very, very careful with it. I did not want to bring that home to them. Anyways, we were all pretty comfortable. So that's what I was doing during COVID. But then, well, actually, let's go even farther back. I'm an ex-athlete. I played fast pitch softball in high school and in college. My dad was also a scouting and training specialist who also coached high school and softball, and then he started doing some scouting and training and still working a lot with softball. So we were both very active still. After that, I wasn't huge into exercise anymore because who wants to do all the training when you don't have to? But we both recently lost a ton of weight and was getting healthy just by intermittent fasting. My highest weight was 187, and during the time of COVID, I believe I was about 130. And yeah, we ate fairly healthy. Still like to eat junk, but we were taking care of ourselves. But then, yes, I actually, so that started 2020. 2021 in March, the vaccine rolled out, and I was one of the first to be allowed to get it because, again, I was working with the public, and being a truther and a seeker, it just wasn't right for me at the time, and they weren't forcing us to get them, so I chose not to. And well, they did open it up to my household, and although I had my feelings about it, I told my parents, look, this is up to you. You make the decision, but don't listen to friends, family, the news. What do you feel is right? So my father, he got the first Pfizer, and he mostly did that because he wanted to come back to Iowa to host a softball training camp. And he knew that he wanted to keep everybody safe and do the right thing. So amazing for him. However, when he came back to Iowa, he contracted the virus and came home, and to make a long story short, got very sick and died from COVID. And in the meantime, I contracted it from him. And I was really in his face, taking his temperature and just being number one daughter, right? I am planning to create a whole video about my father's COVID experience. But this one is an introductory to mine. And so I caught COVID. My first test was actually like 5 days after exposure, once my father was already in the hospital, and it wasn't the rapid one, but by the time I got the basic test back, I had finally taken a rapid one, and that was like 6 days later after the initial test. So that's like 10, 11 days after exposure, and I had already killed most of my symptoms. So when I first felt symptoms, it was really just body aches. Like, of course I was stressed. My dad was in the hospital, and I remember laying there one night and my legs just felt restless, and it felt like I needed to get out of bed and just like stretch and crack, and they just hurt and they ached. And so I thought, well, let me take a hot bath. But then at the same time, I couldn't get warm. The water was not hot enough. I was so cold. I thought, oh no. And then the next day, I think I developed a temperature. It was maybe 102 was the highest. But again, I didn't feel that bad because I was worried about my dad. And they wouldn't allow me to go back to the hospital without a negative test. So I just breezed past it for the most part, I think. Fatigue, or actually I didn't really even I wasn't tired, really. I was probably just stressed and in adrenaline mode. I don't remember being tired at all. I had the fever, the body aches, and the chills. That was it for those first like 5 days. So then that's when I decided to take the rapid test. I thought, oh, you know what? Maybe it'll come out negative. I can go see my dad. I can get these monoclonal antibodies and give them to him and save his life. So that was a Friday when I decided to get the rapid test, and the nurses had said, yeah, well, you're positive, but if this is when everything started, you should be not infectious by Monday, as long as you keep a temperature clear for like 48 hours and don't develop any new symptoms and blah, blah, blah. Well, I was fine. But the next day, after my rapid test, I gradually got sick again with basic COVID symptoms. I lost my taste and smell. It's kind of like a sinus. I felt like my whole face was just swollen, and you could hear the stuffiness, kind of like a bad cold. But then my eyes started to swell. It was a sign. I have some pictures I can show you. Slowly, more and more and more and more. I couldn't even open my eye. It wasn't red. I knew it wasn't pink eye. I have a family member that's kind of a nurse that lives far away that, is kind of following me through it. I went to the rapid care, the quick care, and, oh, we don't treat COVID. I said, I'm not here for COVID. I'm here for my eye. What's wrong with my eye? They didn't even give me eye drops. They just said, wait it out. That's not a sign of COVID. Well, no crap. So I'm here to look at the eye. We got to go see your eye doctor. OMG. So, whatever. Time passed, and within like 2 weeks, I had lost my dad. I had pretty much fully recovered, I suppose. A lot of that's kind of a blur. But I say all that to say this. My initial infection was very mild, and the only thing that was still kind of hitting me for the next 3 months without any long hauler symptoms was just my eye. I mean, laying down trying to watch TV, I remember having to cover one eye because everything was like doubled. And at the time, it was mostly vertigo. Now I know the difference between vertigo and being dizzy because now I'm dizzy and I don't have vertigo. But at the time, it was vertigo. I, couldn't move real fast. And yeah, kind of dizzy upon standing, but it was vertigo, and driving was really hard, especially in Vegas and all the traffic. You don't want to look too fast, and a little bit of, I don't even know the word now, but that's my initial COVID infection. April of 2021, it was the Delta strain, and I was not vaxxed. I still haven't been, and I don't intend to be. So there's that part. Please hang around. I intend to share more on the initial experience, my doctor experiences, my father's experience, and oh, so much more. If you are a long hauler, if you have your own channel, please comment so I can share yours and you can share mine and we can spread the word. Hummingbird. I don't know. Thank you for joining. Namaste.